Hey YouTube, we're out here at the goat pasture today. We just made a goat move into a new paddock, and anyhow, we're doing something a little bit different here with this paddock. We're kind of increasing our stock density a fair little bit, and going to try and experiment a little bit with a little higher density grazing. I've got a situation here with this pasture that I'm in that it was kind of conducive from a fencing standpoint to try some of this. We just turned these goats out into a 7.5 acre paddock. Generally my paddocks that I turn out into are roughly anywhere from 25 to 50 acres is kind of how it works, and we usually end up doing a 5 to 7 day graze and move those goats. So we're not at a really high level of management on our grazing compared to a lot of folks, but for our situation that's just how it is. So that makes what we're doing here today a little bit different. You know, we've got roughly 160 nanny goats plus all their kids. I think we worked them the other day. We had like 186 kids or something like that. So we didn't do so hot on our kid crop this year. It's an improvement from last year, but last year was pretty rough. Last year we increased our numbers, our herd size, we increased it drastically, so we had some growing pains. And like I say, this year was a little better, but still not quite what we had hoped. But anyhow, that's the kind of stock we have on here. Like I say, about 160 nannies, about 186 kids thereabouts, and turned them in on here on 7.5 acres. So what I'm going to try to do is, there's 3 things in this paddock that I really want to get these goats to focus on. We've got some ragweed. I believe this is western ragweed. I'm almost positive that it might be common field ragweed, but I'm pretty sure it's western ragweed. And we've got a pile of it in this particular paddock. This paddock used to be, I'm sure at one time, was a crop field of sorts, and then it probably got reverted to a hay field and was managed as a coastal field for a long time. And then eventually somebody quit haying it, and now they've been grazing it for a while. This part of the ranch we've only been on for a couple years. So if you're looking at across here, you might even be able to see even on the screen just how much of this stuff is in here. So it's very dense, it's very concentrated, and it'll be interesting to see if with putting a little bit of pressure on these goats from a standpoint of increasing that stock density, if we can get them to eat a little bit more of it. The other 2 big things, right there behind me, that big thicket behind us, that's what we call a plum tree thicket. It's a nuisance, it's a pest, nothing else is going to eat it. Generally the goats will eat on that plum tree thicket early in the spring when the leaves are really tender, and then after that they kind of back off of it. So we're not going to get rid of that plum tree thicket with these goats anytime soon, but would like to see those goats knock it down pretty good and strip it down a little bit. The third plant we're focusing on up there higher on the hill there, you might not be able to tell, but there's a big patch of greenbrier, and there's like those little kid goats right up there on that hill. There's another little patch of it. So throughout this paddock there's some different places with a lot of greenbrier, and those goats will certainly eat on it. And so by putting a little pressure on them, we might get them to strip it down pretty substantially. This paddock that we're in is a series of additional 3 paddocks, that are going to be very similar size and very similar in what's in the paddock from a species standpoint, a plant species standpoint. So I'm thinking we're going to be in this paddock for roughly a day and a half, maybe 2. I'm going to kind of play it out and see how it goes. We got a bunch of rain in the forecast that might change my plans a little bit, but right now we're going to come out here and we're going to keep a close eye on it going forward. But I'm thinking a day and a half or 2, and then we're going to try to bump them to the next paddock. And like I say, it'll be the similar size, similar plant species and everything. So kind of an interesting experiment for us that we haven't got to take things quite to this level yet before, from a stock density standpoint, and try to see what these goats can do if you put just a little pressure on them. Additionally, my fences, I've got quite a few videos out there about my 2-strand polywire fences, my temporary fences that I put up to subdivide these bigger pastures down into small paddocks. You know, this will be interesting to see how we put a little pressure on these goats. Do these goats challenge this fence? Because like I said, I haven't had these goats at this stock density for a little bit of time yet behind these types of fences before, so that'll be another thing to see. I have a lot of, I don't suspect that's going to be any kind of issue, but everything is, you know, it's always a learning curve, so we'll see how that goes too. But otherwise, you know, as of right now, we think everything's doing pretty good. You look out across here, all these goats we think look pretty healthy and pretty sound. If we can keep these kid goats alive to the fall, you know, we can turn them into cash and go on to the next turn. So anyhow, hope everybody out there is having a great day. Look forward to the next video. I'm going to try to keep up on this little series of paddocks that we're moving into and kind of keep you guys up to date on them, if you will. So look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.